You know, they say that pressure makes diamonds, but let's be real, it can also just crush things into dust. And that's the thing about extreme circumstances. They don't really build character, do they? They just reveal it. Today we're diving into this tale of two kings, two rulers pushed to their absolute limits so we can see what they were truly made of.
So, let's just start with that core question. What truly reveals who you are? Is it the choices you make when things are easy, when everything is going your way? Or is it what you do when your back is against the wall and everything you've built is about to just crumble?
So, we're going to follow two totally parallel stories. On one side, we've got this digital Kingpin. He's the master of a lawless, anonymous world. And his power, it's all built on information. And frankly, a whole lot of deceit. On the other side, we have a Viltrumite warrior who was born into a system of just brutal, absolute order, where his power is pure, raw physical strength. So you see the contrast, right? One guy built his system from scratch, the other was completely forged by his.
So, how did each of them master their worlds? Let's take a look at the rules of their respective games, because their journeys to the top could not be more different. For the Kingpin, it all began with simple teenage boredom and a Tor browser. He started out just selling some digital goods, but he figured out really fast that the real power wasn't in selling things, it was in owning the market itself. So he built the Vault. But to get it off the ground, he pulled his most deceptive move yet. He created dozens of fake accounts to generate a ton of false praise and lure in real users. His rise was fast, it was calculated, and yeah, it was built on a foundation of lies.
Now, contrast that with the Viltrumite. His path wasn't some quick sprint, it was a brutal, lifelong marathon. At birth, the weak are just discarded. By age 2, he's already training in a high-gravity chamber. By 5, he's in what's literally a toddler fight club. His entire life is just one long system of indoctrination, all designed to forge the perfect, unfeeling warrior. He didn't choose this system, he just had to survive it.
And this quote just brilliantly illustrates the Kingpin's journey. At every single stage, the first sale, building the marketplace, laundering the money, he had a choice. He had an off-ramp. He could have stopped, but he chose to escalate, driven by his ego and greed, until he had himself an empire.
For the Viltrumite, though, the choices were much simpler. Be strong or be eliminated. That single harsh doctrine was hammered into him from his very first breath. There was no room for compassion, no reward for weakness. You stand on your own or you fall. End of story.
But for both of them, a day of reckoning arrives. And this is the moment when the very systems that gave them all their power turn around and threaten to destroy them. This is the ultimate test of their allegiance.
For the Kingpin, the threat is external. He gets a message from his head of security. The outside world, the one he thought he was so much smarter than, is suddenly knocking at his digital door. The FBI is closing in. His control, his anonymity, his entire world is suddenly at risk.
The Viltrumite's threat, on the other hand, is internal. See, after decades of war, he builds a life and a family on a peaceful planet. But then the Empire calls, and they order him to give up his children, to treat them not as his own, but as assets for the Empire. This isn't a threat to his life, it's a threat to his very soul.
And this, right here, leads us to the climax. Everything has been building to this single moment. When faced with losing it all, what final choice does each of them make?
And this is where their paths diverge completely. The Kingpin, cornered by the FBI, is motivated by pure survival. He chooses to cooperate to save himself. But the Viltrumite, ordered to sacrifice his family, is motivated by love, and he chooses to rebel. One fails the test of character, the other dies for it.
So why did the Kingpin fold so easily? Because his power was an illusion. He thought he was a king, but really, he was a puppet. Get this, his most trusted employees, the ones handling his security and customer service, they were undercover agents the entire time. The second his control was stripped away, all that was left was self-preservation.
The Viltrumite's story is the complete inverse. He was raised to be a tool, an unthinking weapon of the Empire. But by living among a peaceful people, he found a purpose that was way bigger than just survival. He learned to love, and that love allowed him to transcend his brutal programming and make a choice of ultimate sacrifice.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring these two stories together to really understand what defines our character and what it actually means to have integrity.
Just look at this definition. Integrity isn't about what you do when you're caught or when you're forced into a corner. No, it's about the choices you make when you think nobody is watching, when you have the power to get away with doing the wrong thing.
And here is the final verdict, and it comes with a massive twist.
The Kingpin's entire story, it was all just an advanced VR ethics test for a cybersecurity agency. And as his evaluator told him, his final choice to cooperate wasn't some moral awakening. It was just a calculated move to save his own skin. And that is not integrity, it's just survival.
I mean, when you really look at his actions, he failed the test long before he was even caught. He chose to build a criminal enterprise. He chose to launder money. His constant fear wasn't about guilt over the harm he was causing, it was just the paranoia of getting caught. He never did the right thing when he had all the power to do the wrong one.
The Viltrumite, on the other hand, faced the absolute ultimate test. He defied a galactic empire that had existed for millennia. He rejected a lifetime of brutal conditioning. He chose to protect a family he was meant to just use as tools. He sacrificed his own life for something far greater than survival, for freedom and for love. He did the right thing when it cost him everything.
And that brings us right back to the beginning. The man forged in brutality found his humanity, while the man who had every freedom chose to build a cage of crime around himself. So it leaves us with one final question to think about. When your test comes, when the pressure is on and you think no one is watching, what will you choose?